In the last video, we spoke about how the Northeast is seen and how often it is misunderstood. Today, we look at what happens when it is ignored until it starts burning. Dziikou Valley doesn't sit quietly on a map. It lies between Manipur and Nagaland, between beauty and neglect, between memory and history. Every winter, the grass dries, the wind hardens, and when fire arrives, it doesn't ask who owns the land. This wasn't the first fire, but this time it came back. December 2025, the first warning. In mid-December 2025, wildfire broke out in the western part of Dziikou Valley on the Nagaland side. The Indian Air Force was called in. MiG-17 helicopters dropped water using Bambi buckets. By the evening of December 15th, officials said the fire was contained. The valley survived, but the land did not recover. Winter had only begun. The grass remained dry, the slopes exposed. This was the warning. January 26, 2026, fire returns. On January 26, 2026, a new wildfire started. This time in the southern part of Dziikou Valley, again on the Nagaland side. There was no siren, no alarm, just smoke rising from dry grassland. Authorities have not officially confirmed the cause, but by the time the fire was reported, it had already found everything it needed. Steep slopes, winter fuel, and wind. This was not a continuation of December. This was a new ignition. For the state, local youth respond before helicopters, before disaster forces. The first response came from local youth organizations, two groups. From communities with long-standing connections to Dziikou Valley, on the Nagaland side, the Southern Angami Youth and Public Organization. On the Manipur side, the Song Song Youth and Students Organization. They are not allies, yet when the fire spread, they did not cross into each other's territory. They did not obstruct each other's work. They stayed on their own slopes, protecting their own forests, containing what they could. Not unity, not reconciliation, responsibility. January 28th, official response begins. By January 28th, district authorities stepped in. Reconnaissance and rescue teams were formed. Trekkers were still inside the valley. Evacuation routes were identified, often with help from local volunteers. Because in terrain like Dziikou, local knowledge travels faster than paperwork. January 29th, the fire crosses over. By January 29th, what locals feared was confirmed. The fire had crossed toward Manipur, moving in the direction of Mount AC, the state's highest peak. More than 30 trekkers were evacuated. All trekking routes were suspended. The fire had crossed a political boundary, a line drawn on maps, but fire does not recognize borders. Why the fire could not be stopped from the ground? Dziikou Valley has no road access. Fire engines cannot reach it. Ground crews must walk for hours. Winds push flames uphill faster than people can run. Large sections are simply unreachable. This was not just a disaster. It was geography asserting itself. When the sky stepped in, by January 30, aerial operations began again. Indian Air Force helicopters dropped water from above. Officials said areas reached by aerial operations were around 70% under control. But control here is temporary. Fire does not burn evenly. It hides in ridges. It waits for wind. What volunteers said. As helicopters worked from above, local volunteers spoke plainly from below. The fire has grown too extensive to be controlled. This was not exaggeration. It was lived reality. Volunteers on both sides continued monitoring, guided by responsibility to the land. Conflict did not define the moment. Preventing total loss did. What is at stake? Dziikou Valley is not just scenic, it holds rare alpine vegetation, seasonal grasslands, the Dziikou lily, a species that does not recover easily from repeated fires. The valley burned in December. It burned again in January. Repeated fires slow regeneration, sometimes permanently. Closing. What this fire reveals. This fire did not ask. Where the border lies, which map is correct? It followed wind, dry grass, neglect. What we saw instead was quieter. People holding their own ground, not to claim territory, but to prevent total loss. Dziikou Valley is burning, and it reminds us, when fragile land is destroyed, every side loses, no matter whose story you believe. This is Grassroots Lens, and we will keep watching, even after the smoke clears. Grassroots Lens exists to tell stories that rarely make headlines. If you'd like these stories to continue, support the channel by liking and subscribing so the story can grow and travel further together. Thank you.